With Path of Exile 2 launching on November 15, is the perfect time to dive back into the lore of the first game and prepare for what's coming next. So lay back, grab a snack, because we're diving deep into the lore of Path of Exile. This is Path of Exile, a world set on the harsh and cursed continent of Wraeclast. Once a thriving land, Wraeclast was devastated by a mysterious event known as the Cataclysm, which was basically the apocalypse. Since then, Wraeclast became a dumping ground for the unwanted, where Oriath, a powerful island nation to the southeast, sends all their exiles. Bear in mind that Wraeclast is not just a land of punishment, it's a land where the deepest horrors reside. Yet, it is also where the strong can rise to their highest potential. And this forsaken wilderness, filled with the remnants of ancient corruption and unspeakable terrors, only those who embrace their inner strength and darkest talents will survive. Here, exile is not just a sentence, it is a crucible, where only the most resilient and resourceful will be reborn into something far greater than what they once were. Okay, so this game has a pretty interesting timeline. The history of Path of Exile spans thousands of years, shaped by ancient civilizations, catastrophic events, and powerful figures like Kalandra. The timeline begins long before the rise of any human empire. So let's start with the beginning. Chapter 1: The Beginning of Time, Kalandra and the Lake. Kalandra is one of the most enigmatic figures in Wraeclast's history. Rarely mentioned in-game, but central to the Lake of Kalandra expansion, she is an ancient being. But what is she exactly? She can't be a god because gods in Path of Exile's universe need faith from humanity, and Kalandra comes from before that. Could she be a titan then? Well, we'll talk about titans later, but according to the Trial Master, she is not a titan, and we get this information from the following lines.
Oh, I'm only a couple of thousand years old. If you want to know more about the beginning of time, you'll have to ask the Titans. Well, Titan. Or that insufferably cryptic owl, if you don't mind paying such a horrible price.
Another thing that indicates that Kalandra is a unique creature in Path of Exile is the description of the primordial remnant, where it says that Kalandra watched as the almighty titans fell, relegated to the innermost depths of the world, where horrific abominations awaited them. To me, both the item description and the Trial Master's lines make no indication that Kalandra predates the existence of titans, since he says himself that if you want information about the beginning of time, you could ask any of them. And it's important to note that her powers are not universal, as there are certain regions that the vision of the lake cannot reach.
They come from beyond the sight of the lake. They are a mystery, even to me.
This indicates that Kalandra is neither a god nor a titan. Her appearance kinda reminds me of the Raven people from... oh god, not this one. Oh, okay, these guys from Dark Souls 1. In fact, both of these characters exist in a realm where illusion dominates reality. I mean, the whole theme of reflections and illusions permeates the in-game mechanics related to her. There, according to the ancient etchings, it was curiosity that led Kalandra to the lake.
When I first came to this land, there was nothing but the lake. It was a barren, hot, and lifeless realm, bubbling with magma and primordial ooze. How then? Was there a lake? Curiosity was my undoing.
Despite attempts to leave, she always returned with no memory of her time outside the lake. Over countless ages, Kalandra observed the world outside, growing increasingly resentful and detached. She witnessed the rise of human civilizations and the invention of religion, which she scorned, asking,
What is a god but a thief of virtue?
A thief of virtue. Where have we heard that before? For those familiar with Path of Exile's lore, Thief of Virtue is a nickname for sin, the brother of innocence. While innocence is worshipped as a god of purity, sin represents the darker, rebellious side opposing the control of the gods over humanity. We first meet Sin in Act 6, after the defeat of Innocence, where he guides the player in their quests to confront divine corruption and free Wraeclast from its gods. Now, here's where Kalandra may come in. In the ancient etchings, Kalandra speaks of a conversation with someone who could very well be Sin, referring to him as my little thief.
They have started finding their way to me. Some that imagine themselves grand heroes, some that are simply peasants to a lord, all in their time of greatest despair and need. I cannot help them, yet we talk, and they leave here with a new direction, ignorant of the cost they will pay. My latest conversation has given me much to think about. The problem is one of image, of a likeness cast by faith, of a reflection drawn by belief. What you need, my little thief, is a shattered mirror.
This conversation between Kalandra and Sin holds layers of meaning that tie directly into the deeper mysteries of Path of Exile. But to fully understand it, we must consider it in the broader context of Kalandra's story. First, this passage suggests that the Lake of Kalandra is not some hidden dimension, but a physical location. Kalandra mentions how many have found their way to her, sometimes by accident. If the lake existed in a separate, unreachable realm, this kind of accidental discovery would not happen. The way people seem to stumble upon it, especially in moments of despair, points to the lake being more accessible than we might think. And these moments of despair are crucial, because when people come to Kalandra, it's never out of good fortune or casual curiosity. They come at their lowest, seeking guidance. But Kalandra is no benevolent guide. Her advice always carries a hidden price. There is a sense that she exploits people's desperation, using their vulnerability to manipulate them into doing her bidding. This is reflected in the line, "I cannot help him, yet we talk." And they leave here with a new direction, ignorant to the cost that they will pay. So this indicates that Kalandra knows the costs. She's playing the long game, offering just enough to push people toward her goals, while leaving them unaware of the true consequences. Then, to me, here comes the most important line. The problem is one of image, of a likeness cast by faith, of a reflection drawn by belief. This is where Kalandra strikes the heart of the power of the gods. In this moment, she reveals a truth that aligns perfectly with Sin's worldview. Gods derive their power from the belief that mortals have in them. They are, in essence, reflections of the virtues and vices that humanity projects onto them. Their very existence hinges on faith. So, what if it was no coincidence that Kalandra told Sin that what you need, my little thief, is a shattered mirror? The mirror here, in my opinion, is a metaphor for the god's power, which is built on the image cast by belief. So if the mirror is shattered, the god's power is broken. By calling Sin my little thief, Kalandra acknowledges that Sin's role in undermining the gods, stealing their virtue, and suggests that to truly defeat them, he must destroy the faith that sustains them. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. This conversation may have been far more than a simple exchange of ideas. Kalandra was not just agreeing with Sin's frustration over godhood. She may have planted the very idea that led Sin to take such a drastic action. Her words could have been the catalyst that set Sin on his path to create the beast and topple the gods. If this is true, it means that the events that unfolded Sin's rebellion, the creation of the beast, the downfall of Wraeclast, were not just consequences of Sin's decision, but part of a grand long-term plan orchestrated by Kalandra herself. Kalandra's influence runs deep, and this cryptic conversation may be the key to understanding not just Sin's role in history, but the true nature of the power struggles in Path of Exile. In the end, Kalandra might not just be a mysterious figure in the background. She could be the mastermind behind the entire chain of events that plunged the world into chaos. To another aspect of Kalandra's story, it was the order of the Djinn that promised to unlock the secrets of Kalandra's mirror and free her from her eternal prison. These guardians of ancient relics vowed to dedicate their lives, and even the lives of future generations, to understanding the powers behind the duplication of artifacts of power. They believed they could harness this power, and according to Kalandra, vowed to free her. But their hope soon turned to fear. In their relentless pursuit of Kalandra's power, the Order uncovered something far more dangerous than they had imagined. What they found terrified them so much that the scribes under Sumei's leadership, she was the master lorekeeper of the Order at the time, made a drastic decision. They burned their books, their knowledge, and even themselves, trying to bury the truth they had uncovered. Their desperate act was an attempt to keep Kalandra and the lake hidden to the world forever. Kalandra, still trapped, was abandoned by those who once vowed to free her. All that remains of this episode are the scarabs and a broken promise. While not explicitly confirmed, this connection is strongly suggested by the text in the old reliquary scarabs, which mirrors Kalandra's own words from the ancient etchings number 6.
For a time, I truly had hope. For a time, I actually believed I was going to escape this place. Ones that scampered more furtively than most promised they would dedicate themselves to freeing me. They promised they would do whatever it took, no matter how many generations had to devote their lives to the effort. But once they understood the truth of this place, they took steps to make it harder to find and moved to erase me from recorded history. Then they burned themselves alive. Am I truly so forsaken, so untouchable, that none must be allowed to even know of me? In your fear, you consigned me to oblivion. All I had to hold back the loneliness were my rare visitors.
Whether Kalandra is aware of her own manipulation or not, the Order of the Djinn clearly realized that the true nature of the Lake of Kalandra was too dangerous to leave in the hands of anyone. And yet, despite their sacrifice, others continue to seek out this power. We see this in the Heist League and the creation of replica items, where rogue groups attempt to harness the magic of duplication without fully understanding the cost. But here's the key: while we often attribute the power of duplication to Kalandra herself, it is explicitly stated that this power was granted to her by the lake. In the release of the Lake of Kalandra expansion, it is said that you travel to the mirrored lake that granted Kalandra her powers of duplication. The lake manifests reflections of Wraeclast itself, which emerge from its misty surface as you approach. This makes it clear that the power doesn't belong to Kalandra. It's the lake itself that holds the magic of reflection and duplication. This revelation leads to an unsettling possibility. What if Kalandra isn't a being of her own, but a product of the lake? All the evidence points to this. Doesn't fit into any category of beings in Path of Exile's lore. She's neither a god, nor a titan, nor a mortal. Her memories beyond the lake are fragmented. She can't escape its grasp. Her powers, which we often associate with her, come not from herself, but from the lake that has imprisoned her. It's possible that Kalandra is nothing more than a manifestation of the lake, designed to lure adventurers and powerful figures into interacting with its magic. A puppet, rather than a puppeteer. The Order of the Djinn might have uncovered this truth and realized that the lake's power was too dangerous to be wielded by anyone, leading them to destroy everything, leaving only cryptic scarabs and a shattered legacy behind. Her final words in the ancient etchings reveal her ultimate intent. This haunting message tells us that Kalandra hasn't given up. She waits, patient and cunning, knowing that eventually someone will break through the barriers and set the stage for her escape. Whether it's another adventurer lured by the promise of power, or someone seeking to replicate her abilities, Kalandra's plan is already in motion. The lake holds her, but it won't do so forever, and when the right person arrives, the chain of events she has so carefully set in place will unfold, unleashing the consequences beyond anything we can imagine. Kalandra's tale is far from over, and the next chapter could be written by whoever dares to step into the lake.